I believe, is one of the biggest low-life moves I've ever seen from the fake news White House press corps today. And if you saw the president's press conference before he left Turkey, you saw this. I've never seen the media stoop to as low as they did today. So here's what they did. The fighting with Iran, of course, is heated up again because the psychotics broke the agreement. And so the bombing's been going on for a few nights. And President Trump said today, he said the agreement is worthless, the talks are worthless, and that's it. And the media started questioning President Trump and bringing up things that are top secret security risks. And there were two questions at least saying, "Oh, you're not taking the new Air Force One when you leave here." And President Trump responded. He said, "Well, he said I'm their number one target." And he went on a little bit about that. And then another reporter brought it up again about him not taking the new Air Force One when he left Turkey. Now, why would they do something so insane and so stupid? Well, the answer to that's obvious. We know why they did it. That is so inappropriate. Here we are just a couple of days past the 4th of July. Any American who is a halfway decent American wouldn't even have such a discussion. And these low-life reporters go on global television and start talking about it. Now, who knows if the Iranians were even thinking about that? Even if it had been rumored, why bring it up as if it's a credible, real thing that could happen? Maybe they hadn't thought about it. Or maybe they heard it as a rumor and realized, oh, it's, So what did the media do? They confirmed the story to the Iranians while the president's in the war zone. We all know that the fake news media are scumbags, but today was one of the biggest examples of it I have seen. And the media are so twisted. It's like they also recently leaked out the information about the defenses that are being added to the White House with the ballroom, right? The security defenses and the offensive weapons and everything else. The media, they have Trump derangement syndrome so deep in their bones that they've lost all sense of common decency to even have such a discussion. I mean, it was almost like they were communicating with the Iranians, who were watching that press conference. Oh, here's one of my neighbors. They have a sign. They have a Trump van sign up in their front yard still. That's awesome. Now, a couple other things I want to touch on. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that, by the way, what the media did about, and I'll tell you, that's a pretty big deal because I don't know of another instance when a president didn't fly on Air Force. Air Force One, especially the new Air Force One, Air Force One is supposed to be not just the most advanced aircraft, it's a military aircraft that's supposed to handle all kinds of different things, attacks and such. And what they're doing, the media, is also putting out there the idea to the Iranians that the new Air Force One is not as capable as the past Air Force One militarily. Everything they brought up was so many levels over the line. I've never seen anything like it. Here we are now. Graham Plattner's still refusing to drop out. And, I was talking to my wife about this earlier with Graham. Why should Graham Plattner drop? Graham Plattner, he has no career. He has no job. His whole background is a fake narrative. And he's basically a bum or career that could be damaged by any that are made against him. So why should Graham Plattner drop, drop out? He's got nowhere to go. And, another thing about Plattner not dropping out, the people, even though Bernie Imamdani said that he should drop out, that was almost like a symbolic thing because of the rape allegation. But the ones that are pushing for him to drop out are not the Democrat socialist, it's the Democrat establishment. And he's with the Democrat socialist. So he doesn't have to drop out. He's got no future elections coming up in his future. He's got no job or career that can be damaged, and he's got nowhere to go. And he can actually gain if he stays in and loses. He'll be a hero of the Democrat Socialist of America because he and they will blame the loss on what they'll describe as a smear job on him by the Democrat establishment. But he may be able to be bought off. Like, maybe if they offered him $10 million, $5 million, $10 million, he might say, "Okay, I'll drop out of the race." But what motivation are they offering him to drop out? Right? A lot of these guys, when there's a scandal with a politician, usually they already hold office, or there's a possibility of holding office in the future. So they don't want to mess up their political career. With with Graham Plattner, there's no hope, there's no dream, there's no possibility of anything else after this. So there's no um, purpose for him to say, "Okay, I'll drop out," because there's no future for him. He's all about himself. Well, isn't that how all these Democrat socialist commies are? Right? They're very, they're all a bunch of narcissists who thinks everybody else should be doing their bidding and working for them. So this is what happens when you pick a loser and a bum and have him uh, as your nominee for the United States Senate. That's just what happened. This guy just walked behind my car. I'm in my driveway. I'm like, what is going? It was an Amazon Flex driver. I'm like, what is this guy doing parking behind me in my driveway and getting out of his car? But he didn't have any Amazon clothing on, but he dropped off an Amazon package. So that's it with Graham Plattner. Are they? You think they'll pay him off? Would they give Graham Plattner uh, $5 to $10 million to drop out of the race, or will they let him stay in? Because my guess is that I mentioned this on the show this morning, that the reason they're pushing Graham Plattner out are several. But one of them is they're trying to get him to drop out because he's having a negative impact on their races around the country, being associated with the Nazi. And now with the rape allegations, it's even worse at that level. So they got all these things they got to worry about. It's affecting their races around the country is why they want him out. But if I were him, I'd stay in it too, unless they made it worth my while, right? There's no motivation at all for Graham Plattner to drop out. He's got nothing. And I am also happy to see today, and I want let him stay in and destroy the Democrat Party a little bit more. I love it. It's absolutely amazing that Kevin Jennings, or Scott Jennings. I keep calling him Kevin. Kevin Jennings is the guy from Jeopardy. Scott Jennings, who I talked about today with his fake phone call with Mitch McConnell. Nobody believes he had that. There were Thune talked to he said he talked to Mitch McConnell. Um, Jennings said he talked to Mitch McConnell, and the other McConnell insider. What's his name? It starts with a B. I forgot his name. He said he talked to no one that we trust. Said they talked to Mitch McConnell, right? It's only these McConnell insiders who said they had these long conversations where he talked about all the news of today and he's up to speed on everything. To me, it sounds like when his wife met with the vice president of China, that this was an idea that the CCP came up with. They're basically handling Mitch McConnell the same way that the Iranians are handling the supreme leader, right? No one's seen him for months. They say he's alive. They keep releasing statements that he supposedly said, but no one's seen even a photograph of him or heard his voice. And they're trying to do the same thing with Mitch McConnell to avoid this special election. And it's all about, of course, they don't want the Save America Act passed. And if they have a special election in August, which they'd be required to do, the filibuster could get nuked. And yeah, Barassa, yeah. So three guys, all of them, Mitch McConnell insiders, they had these long, detailed conversations with him. And Scott Jennings has forever damaged his credibility. Everybody liked him, and he Barrasso, yeah, and he um, blew his credibility today. And this is, what happened with Scott Jennings. A lot of you will remember this. For Scott Jennings, this 17-minute conversation he had with Mitch McConnell is like Chris Matthews with the thrill down your leg moment. Remember when Chris Matthews said he had a thrill down his leg listening to Obama speak at his first State of the Union? And he never recovered from that. People still talk about the thrill down the leg when they're with Chris Matthews. It destroyed him. He never could shake. And that's what this is. This is Scott Jennings' thrill down the leg moment. And no one's going to trust him again. And he was a big MAGA hero. President Trump was even praising him. They were talking about running him for Senate. People liked him. And will you ever trust Scott Jennings again? Now that doesn't mean he won't have a good moment. We'll be like, okay, he made Ana Navarro look stupid on CNN or some other liberal jerk, but no one's going to trust him. No one's going to believe him, and he's blown all of his credibility forever. And you know what? I'm glad he outed himself. So now we know what he's all about. It could have been a long time before we found out where he was. I knew his background, but I thought maybe he had gotten over that. But you know what? He didn't. Mm-mm. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And, when you look at this BS story that the McConnell cell came up with, that they all had these detailed phone conversations with him. I mean, what Mitch McConnell was on the phone for like 2 hours talking to these guys. Give me a freaking break. If he could talk on the phone for that long to these three guys, we would see a photograph of him or heard him on the phone talking to someone in the media. Like President Trump, he's always doing phone interviews with like John Roberts and John Roberts. Oh yeah, I just talked to President Trump and this was our conversation. Or President Trump will call one of the news outlets on the phone live, but McConnell would call someone that was trusted. And these establishment people, they really did damage that it will never be forgotten. What Scott Jennings did. Somebody impersonating Mitch McConnell. Oh my goodness. I don't know. But they know that we could get without Mitch McConnell there, that we could, if we had a special election and the right person were to win it. Yeah, these are meta glasses. Yes, they are. And the right person wins it, the Save America Act could quite possibly get passed. And that's what they don't want. They don't want the Save America Act passed. These Republican stinks, John Thune. That's what it's all about. But no, I'll never trust Jennings again. Never. I'll watch him, and say, okay, you did a good job there, but now we know, right? And now that we know we can't trust him. We could trust him to be, Scott Jennings. You know, it's so, and for them to blow his cover reputation and destroy his credibility for this Mitch McConnell story, it seems to me that they destroyed his credibility with people that liked and supported him on something very short term and petty. It seems, right? Don't you think? This is the kind of thing you wait for. Like, the way I described it this morning, it's like with Chief Justice John Roberts on the Supreme Court. They let him vote the right way, like a conservative should, and except on their important things, like last week, the birthright citizenship as an example, right? They don't use them on tiny things because it would be too obvious. And with Scott Jennings, they blew his rep and his credibility on a short-term stupid thing that no one believes. And it really shows how desperate they are and how stupid they think the American people are too at the same time, doesn't it? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to head on in, but make sure you subscribe. If you're new, I'm Brian. This